Okay, I tried on the pants. I made a zoot suit, but like the pants, not like a full suit. I mean, there's not going to be a shoulder seam because it's a halter top, and I had that realization as I was drafting the pattern. It's not that I think it looks bad, I think there's a lot of work. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and happy Met Monday. Today is the Met Gala, which is hosted by the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and it is a fundraiser that funds the Costume Institute, and it is considered the Super Bowl of fashion because a lot of people like to show out for the red carpet. So this year's theme for the exhibit is Superfine Tailoring Black Style, which is inspired by Black dandyism. And the dress code for the red carpet is tailored for you. And I decided I wanted to make an outfit for if I was going to the Met Gala. So that is today's video. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on my social medias, and let's get into it. Okay, in this video, I am making something for the Met Gala. I don't usually hold y'all like this. Well, I'm not holding you, but I have some notes, so I'm going to look at those. But I'm going to make an outfit for the Met Gala, which the exhibition for this year is Superfine Tailoring Black Style, and it was inspired by Monica L. Miller's book Slaves to Fashion, Black Dandyism and the Styling of Black Diasporic Identity. The exhibit will explore the role of sartorial style in forming Black identities, and I did some research into dandyism and Black dandyism and women and their role in dandyism. So pretty much dandyism was kind of this like style of dress for elite Europeans, and in the 20th century it manifested in slaves and servants starting to dress in that way and like co-opting that to look like high society in a way of embracing that culture, but also in trying to like prove that they were equal. And it was a lot of Black men kind of like putting their own flair and style like into the dandy style. And something I looked into was if there were female dandies, and they were usually known as, I might mispronounce this, but quaint trellis, dandies, or dandyzites. And it was women who were pretty much borrowing fashion tropes from men's dress to kind of show off this like masculine power. And because of that, there was a lot of queerness associated with female dandies, whether or not they themselves were queer. Some were, some more popular ones were. And some examples of Black women who were associated with female dandyism were Gladys Bentley and Ma Rainey. So I'm going to put up a picture of the design that I have and what I'm going to do. So I looked at some inspiration from just kind of what some websites and articles had of like people to look into for this Met Gala. And then I also veered off course a little bit because I personally feel like I'm very feminine, and it's not that I don't wear like slacks or dress shirts. I don't often, though. I feel like I don't. So I felt a little bit like I was struggling some looking at some menswear collections and trying to take inspiration. So I started with looking at Pharrell Williams and his time at Louis Vuitton, but what really stood out for me was some of the work from Patrick Kelly, some of the red carpet looks from Janelle Monáe, and then also I looked at some of Virgil Abloh's collections when he was with Off-White and with Louis Vuitton, and then I also looked at Olivier Rousteing. I don't think I pronounced his last name correct, but some of his work at his time with Balmain. And where I came to, I knew that I did not want to do a blazer because I think I'm good. I don't know if I am good enough to do a blazer and also in the time frame that I have. So I am going to do a pair of trousers slash slacks, more or less. And then I wanted to do a button up shirt, but it's going to be in a halter style with a collar. And I'm thinking a tie. I don't exactly know what that is going to look like yet, but yeah. So I'm going to start by doing the pattern for the top, and I think I'm going to start with doing it on the dress form and then transferring that to paper afterwards, and then I will do the pants, which feels a little daunting because I feel like I've done pants before and sometimes they're okay, but they're not the best. And I feel like a big goal for this for me is for it to really fit, like for all the pieces to really fit well, since just like tailored clothes and people who have like really nice suits and stuff were a big part of the inspiration. I feel like for this, like one big inspiration is Andre Leon Daly, and I will say there are some things that can be said about this happening after his death, but I will not get into that. But I'm going to start by patterning the top, and then I'm going to go from there. Okay, so I have the pattern pieces cut out. This is the back and the front, and I'm gonna slope the front up a little bit. A thought that I had that I'm not fully sure about is that the only top connection for the front and the back is gonna be the collar. There's not gonna be a shoulder seam because it's a halter top, and I had that realization as I was drafting the pattern. Also, I am gonna do the wavy hem, but I think I really don't want to transfer these to like a different, like to wrapping paper or something to pattern it. So I'm probably gonna trace the fabric or the pattern onto the fabric with a washable marker, and then I will just draw it out. I don't know if that's the best, but I think that's what I'm going to do. And I think I also want to trace it because I want to try to get the design to be continuous across the front pieces. So yeah. Also, this is the fabric that I am going to use. I drew the butterflies in the design, but yeah, I'm gonna use this, and it's just kind of a knit that I got from Joann's going out of business. So yeah, I don't think it's too important for the design to match up, and I feel like there's probably enough free space, but I'm just gonna try to do that anyways. So I'm going to start tracing that and then cut it out. And for sewing it, I'm thinking, I'm not fully sure about basting the dart first. I'm not going to cut the dart out. I'm just going to trace it, and then I will sew it. And I might cut it afterwards, but I don't want to cut it first just in case I want to make any changes. So I might baste the dart. I'm not fully sure, but maybe baste the dart and then the side seams and see how I feel. Maybe. I could do that without having to undo the side seams, even though for the pants I'm gonna have to do some basting and seam ripping. And the only thing is, with seeing how this fits, I'm going to need the buttons and the collar to kind of gauge that, I feel, unless I just like baste things or just, I don't know, somehow figure out getting the collar. So anyways, I'm gonna start cutting out those pieces and then start sewing, and then I'll do the pants. Okay, I have the pieces for the top cut, so I'm going to start by basting the dart and the front to the back, and it's going to be hard to judge the fit since I will need the collar to like hold it up, but if I think it looks decent, then after that I will, I think, do the button facing and then I would do the collar, but we'll see. Okay, so I sewed the front and the back together, and I had this thought, which is like, how am I going to see? I think I've said this before. How am I going to see if it fits? Because there's nothing holding it up until I have a collar. And I think I have how I'm going to actually do the whole thing. But then I had this genius thought, why don't I pin it onto my dress form? And I have bad news. I think, I don't, it's not that I think it looks bad. I think there's a lot of work. So my thoughts right now, it is very baggy, and I don't necessarily want for it to be super fitted. Like, I do want there to be some room. I want it to be something I'd feel comfortable if I was wearing. But I just think right now it's very baggy. So what I'm gonna do first is take in at least an inch on the side. I also feel like the dart is a little low. And full transparency, if you didn't see it while I was sewing, also the dress form on this stand, because I showed this when I made the Valentine's Day dress. I don't know if I said that I filled it with rocks. I filled it with rocks, little pebbles from the dollar store, and it gives it some weight, but she still moves a lot. So every time I'm working on it, I'm trying to hold it so it doesn't move too much, because I really don't want it to break, because I don't want to have to buy one, but it is what it is. The way I drafted the dart, I feel like just didn't really work out, so I kind of just free did it. So I think what I will probably do is take in the sides, repin it, see if that looks better. I mean, like, I am a little different than the size of this because it took me so long to make that I was kind of over it, and I didn't try to get things perfect, but I do think it's a decent representation of my abdomen. So my chest is not, it's roughly the same height, pretty much. So if these darts are low on that one, I do think that it'll be low on me unless I raise the neckline more, which it might be raised some. Regardless, I'm going to take in the sides a little bit. I also should have pinned this inside out, and I didn't. I'm going to take in the sides, and then I will repin it and see how I feel and if I want to adjust the dart and put it somewhere else. I also think for the rest of construction, or at least maybe I'm not going to go through the rest of it. I did just think it out, think through it. I will probably do the collar, and I think the collar has the collar and the collar shield. I have to look that up, and I will hand base that on because I will take it off, but I will use that as a guide to see how it fits on me. Hopefully, I make these adjustments. I put on the collar, it looks fine, and then I will take it off. I will do the button interfacing and finish the armholes, because I was like, wait a second, if I finish the armholes, because I have to do that before the collar, if I finish the armholes and do the button stuff and then do the collar, if I don't like it, that's a lot of stuff to undo. And I'm like, oh, I don't have to base this much, but it is what it is. So I'm going to start by taking this in, and then I'm probably going to repin it on here and see about adjusting the dart, and yeah. Okay, after taking this in a fair amount, I didn't film every time I took it in. I only filmed like the first time, and adjusting the dart and hand basting the dart, which I did because I should have done it with the first dart. Hand basting damages the fabric less, and when I took out the dart, you can see, and maybe I'll show that in a second. I knew I should have, and I was like, it's fine, I'll just use a wider stitch. No. So I hand basted the darts at this time, even though I think that they'll be good still. This is what we're looking at. I think it looks a lot better, at least on my dress form, than it did pinned on my dress form. I feel a little about the bottom right now, like the hem, but I feel like I'll have to see as I go, and maybe when I finish it, since I'm going to probably do a facing, that can give a little more structure to make it, I don't know, but that's not the point right now. Oh, I wanted to show. So these dots are where I had the original dart. Um, I feel like this dart lines up really well with the leaf that it almost doesn't look like it. I will say this dart, the butterflies are cut off, but that, wow. I didn't intend to do that, but I feel like that looks pretty good. But now I'm going to get ready and draft a pattern for the collar, and I'm going to try to figure that out. And then after I have that, I will baste it to see what it looks like on me, and then if it works, do the button facing, not the buttons yet, and the armholes. I hate doing buttons so much. I jammed my machine one time a few years ago. I think I was doing like an Emily in Paris look, so I will link that. But I'm always so nervous to do buttonholes because of it, but so I also save it usually for last. But yeah, I'm gonna start working on the collar and then go from there. Okay, I looked up how to make a collar, and it doesn't. The good news is it doesn't look that hard. The bad news is I feel like I didn't draft this well. We know collars are usually kind of fitted to your neck, and this does not. There's a gap between the back and the front, and I was like, I measured length that I wanted for a collar, but then that would be like the exact length of like the front and the back piece, and I was like, oh, that works out. And I was like, no, it doesn't, because I don't think they're supposed to touch, and if I try to make them touch, it would kind of cause it to not fit, and I don't want to have to like do a panel to extend out. To side note, like those two butterflies right now are lining up so nice. I don't know if that will be the same when I do the button facing. Either way, I am just gonna make a collar. I'm gonna keep this pinned up here, and I'm gonna do, so a collar has two parts, the collar and like the collar stand. I'm going to draft both the collar and the collar stand, but I'm gonna cut out the collar stand and see what that will look like, and then if I think it's gonna work, I'm just gonna go and baste it. I mean, the thing is, a little bit is like the only way to go from here is forward. Because like, unless I want to recut out everything, which I could, I do really like this fabric though, so I'd like to have a fair amount extra. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't think some of this through. So I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna draft the collar stand and collar, and I'm gonna go from there. I'm also not gonna sew the collar how you should. I don't know if there's an exact way, because I looked at a few blogs. And one thing I saw though was like they folded in part of the collar stand and then not the other when they attached it. And I don't know, dress shirts and stuff like that, there's just like a lot of things going on, but because there's going to be that like open space, I do need those seams to be hidden, so I'm gonna fold the whole thing over when I attach it. But I'm going to cut that out, drop that, cut that out, and then if I do like how it's gonna look, I'm gonna start by sewing the actual collar and then attaching the collar stand and go from there. Okay, I have the collar almost done. So I cut out the pieces, I sewed the collar together. I also top stitched since this is kind of like a knit material, so it's not as crisp, and I didn't interface it because I didn't want it to be too stiff. But before I finish sewing the collar stand, I did iron each piece up so it'll be easier when sewing it down. So I'm going to sew the edges of that, flip it inside out, and then I'm going to attach it to the shirt to see what it looks like on me. Also, I'm going to base that in like probably white or something just so it's easy to seam rip after I try it on and see how it fits. Also, a few thoughts right now. I don't know if I love the bottom, but once I have like probably the collar like actually on and the armhole finished and maybe the button, well, I have to do the button channel before I can do the collar. I think then I might cut. I don't know. I feel like it's just this end doesn't, it just looks a little odd and I want it to look a little more wavy. So I don't know. I love how the pattern lines up. I hope it kind of stays semi like this when I do the button thing. It should, but I think one thing I probably would have tried to do different is I think I would have tried harder to line it up better on the side seams because I don't know, I feel like it's just so seamless on the front and then the side isn't. It is what it is, and it's not like that deep, but it would have been cool if I had like thought about that a little bit more when I cut out the pieces. So we'll see, but I'm going to sew that based, make any changes as needed, and if not, then I'm gonna finish the side seams and the darts and then do the button channel. Okay, I based it on the collar and I took in the darts a little bit more and I took out some of the side. Unfortunately, since I did machine based the side, there are the white dots down both sides, but it is what it is. So now I'm going to seam rip off the collar, finish the sides and the dart, and then do the button facing. And I think I'm going to do a binding for the armhole. And for the button facing, I'm probably going to start it like an inch lower so it doesn't like overlap with the collar, because that's just going to be a lot of fabric on top of each other. So I'm going to do that, and then I will reattach the collar, and then after that would be the buttons and the hem. Okay, I did the button facing. I also did a facing instead of a binding for the armhole, and I sewed on the collar. So now I have the buttonholes marked. So I'm going to sew those, and then I will sew the buttons on, and then I will do a facing for the bottom. And I wanted to do that last. I mean, you should do it last, but I wanted to make sure that I did kind of adjust how I cut it some. Um, I'm listening to the Sinners soundtrack that you can see a little bit in the background. Um, and yeah. Oh, I'm gonna do the buttons. Oh, I might have messed up. I marked to do the buttons on the. I have the buttonhole going on the right side. So the buttons will be on the left. I don't know if I want to change that. I wanted to do them on the right because like that's how menswear is, but I marked them. I marked the buttonhole to go on the left side or on the right side, which would mean the button would be on the left. So maybe I'll switch that. But yeah, I'm gonna do the buttonhole and then the buttons, and then I'm going to do the bottom. Okay, I finished the shirt, so now I'm gonna start on the pants. Originally, so I'm referencing my book. I'll put a picture up. Pattern making for fashion design. It is truly just a textbook on pattern making, and um, I was gonna make a pair of slacks because I was looking at the difference between some of the pants, and slacks fit a little bit more at the top, and I thought I would like that. But to make slacks, you have to make a pattern for trousers, and I didn't want to make a pattern for the trousers and either alter that pattern, and if I ever wanted to make them again, have to remake the pattern, or to um, make the pattern for the trousers, not make the pants, and then not know, like, kind of go into the slacks blind, like hoping that it'll be good. So I'm gonna make the trousers. All of that to say, and I'm going to show roughly the measurements that they say are needed and how I took some of them, and then I'm going to start drafting that pattern. Okay, so I needed my waist to ankle, so I just held down a measuring tape and I had the one, like the end at my ankle, so I could see closer to where the actual measurement was instead of trying to like look in the mirror. And then your crotch depth, which is, well, I'll come back to that in a second. I did my waist, and I think your waist is like the smallest part of your stomach. And then to measure my hip, it suggested that you put on a belt or just like tie something around your waist to mark that point. And for them, they said to measure your hip as either the widest part of your hips or 9 inches, which I think is roughly my widest part of my hip. But then for the crotch depth, you're supposed to sit on something that is hard. And I don't have that many hard chairs that are like flat. So I have this portable stool. So what I did was I put down this ruler so I could like extend it some. I sat and then I took that measurement from my belt until where the ruler hit to get what my crotch depth was. So those are the measurements needed for the trousers. So now I'm going to start, I'm going to draft that, and then I'm going to cut it out, and then I'm going to cut out the material. Okay, I cut out the pants. I drafted the pattern. I cut out the pants. I used this book one time before, like a few years ago, when I tried doing a pattern making series, and I definitely cut corners. And I cut corners then. So I tried to follow it as true that I could. There was one measurement that was a little not the same, and I also feel like their darts are a little far, but I'm going to baste the crotches, half of the front crotch to like account for doing a zipper, and then all of the back crotch, baste the pants together and then try them on. And I'm gonna wait to baste the darts to see what the fit is looking like once I have it all together, and then from there, if I need to make alterations, I will, and then I will seam rip it apart and start actually constructing it. Okay, I tried on the pants. I made a zoot suit, but like the pants, not like a full suit. Which I have mixed thoughts, which is why I'm in bed, because I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. It. So I don't know if I mentioned the zoot suit, but like in looking up ideas and stuff for this video, like that was something that was mentioned, and they kind of first, I think like their first like big appearance was within African American comedy shows, and there were these like oversized suits, and they eventually like actually did enter like the mainstream sphere. And they also were sometimes like popular with dancing because like comfortable and easy to move in. And so I said earlier that I did trousers instead of slacks because to do a pair of slacks, I'd have to make trousers pattern anyways, and I'd probably like want to actually test the trousers pattern. I don't know if I mentioned the distinguisher between trousers and slacks according to the pattern making book is that trousers kind of, they go over your butt and just hang, whereas like slacks fit your butt a little bit more and then hang down, and then compared to jeans, for example, which are like more like form fitting usually. And I was like, I think it'll be fine. It fits like the book says. And when I first tried them on, I was like, I didn't have the darts done, and I was like, I just am confused, and like I did a very sloppy machine paste. I did not hand baste. I think I said I was going to, and I just was not like up to it. And I'm just looking, and I'm like, something just feels off. And usually I call my mom for reference, like if something feels off and it's late and she didn't answer. And I'm just like, okay, let me try to put in the darts. And I'm like, well, I don't want to machine baste them and I don't want to hand baste them, so I just pin them in. And it looked better when I held them up fully where there's no like folding. They fit. I think they look good from the front, and I just feel like they do nothing at the back. And that's not necessarily the point, but they are just not like shapely or anything. Which it will, like, that is the point. Like, they're not supposed to be shapely, but I'm like, do I like that or not? I don't really know. So I'm tired. And I made the zoot suit. And I'm like, it fits the theme, but do I really want to? But then I'm also like, they probably would be really comfortable to wear. So, I don't know. I do think, though, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but the next step will be seam ripping out the basting on the sides and fully sewing in the back crotch seam, and then doing the front zipper. Well, I'll probably do the front pockets and then the front zipper and then connect them. So yeah. Okay, I decided that I'm going to keep the pants as is. I would like for them to be a little more shapely in the back, but I would have had to make slacks, and I decided to make trousers. I also feel like it does give the like a little bit of like the zoot suit, or like reminiscent of that. So I seam ripped apart the basting. So I'm first going to do the darts for the front pieces, and then after that I'm going to draft a slant pocket, which is similar to a normal pocket, but it's just on an angle, and yeah. And I will do that, and then after that I will do the zip fly, and then I will attach the front to the back. So yeah. Okay, I finished the front, so now I'm going to do the back darts and actually do a not basting stitch for the back crotch, and I'm going to connect the front to the back. I earlier said that I would do the out seams first and press them. I'm not going to because I want to be able to try it on before I serge, so I'm gonna just do the outer seams and the inseam, and then I will just have to finagle my way to press it. Yeah, and then after that, I will do the pockets and the waistband. I was like, what else is there? Pockets and the waistband. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to do the waistband. I'm going to say I'm not going to do the waistband how you're technically supposed to. I glanced at it in one of my reference books, but what I'm going to do is sew the cut out 2 pieces for the waistband, sew that together, fold up that bottom piece, and then attach that to the top of the pant. I serged the top of the pant as well because it was fraying a lot. So I will do that. And then for a closure, I think I'm just going to do a hook. So I'll do that after. And then I will, after I do the waistband, I'll sew on the belt loops, and I'm just going to do a tube and flip that inside out, and probably top stitch down. And then I will just cut out a square for the pocket and sew that on. So I'm going to do that, and then the pants will be done. Okay, I finished the pants. I did not do the back pockets because a little bit because of how, trousers, trousers, I think sometimes have pockets, but I really I like that you can see the darts in the back. So I didn't want to do a pocket that would maybe hide that. I didn't want to do a pocket too low. So I didn't do a pocket. And for the closure, I just did a snap. I do have some hooks, but I got them from like, it's not like a wholesale fabric place, but they do have like a lot of stuff that is kind of a little wholesale-y, and I had no idea how they worked. So I was like, I'm not gonna figure that out. So I had one black sew-on snap left, so I did that. I didn't want to do a not sew-on snap because I just feel like sometimes with those, if you don't do it, not even if you don't do it correctly, but like you have to do it at like a certain, like I have to do it. I have a piece of wood that I do it on, and if I like don't do it hard enough, it kind of makes the snap a little wonky, and I didn't want to risk that because once you do that, you can't go back. I'm sorry, my phone is ringing in the background. So I used a sew on snap for that, and I did the belt loops. I did 6. I think technically people usually do 5. These, I will say, fit well enough that I don't think I need a belt, but just in case, I did still want to do belt loops. And sometimes some people do 6, but I don't always love with belt loops when there's just like one in the middle back, and then if you like tighten your belt, it kind of just brings that part up and not everything else. So I did 2 in the back because of that. And then for hemming it, I just serged and rolled over 1. But now, I think I said that I was going to do a butterfly tie I changed my mind and I am going to try to do a chain tie. So I saw a pearl tie on Pinterest and I thought that was kind of cool, but I was like, oh, I don't think that would really go. And I also don't know how to string beads like that, except for if I like was making like using wire and making loops and stuff. So I was like, I don't think I want to do that. And I thought about like, oh, what if I did a pink one that would match with the shirt? And I thought that'd be really cool. And then I came to chain, and um, I feel like chains and jewelry are very popular, especially in like hip hop and rap. And you always, I mean, I do feel like every guy has like a gold chain now, like every single one, a gold or a silver chain. Um, but it is really popular in like rap and hip hop, especially like sometimes like the bigger chains with like all the diamonds and all this stuff. So I thought that would be kind of like a cool tie-in, like a cool call into like Black culture in that way, but then also making it try to resemble a tie with the whole like menswear and tailoring and dandies. I was about to say dapper and I was like, that's wrong. I was thinking about Dapper Dan. So anyways, I have a plan. This is my little blueprint for the tie. The top is going to be like pretty much I'd make it a necklace. And so in each circle is going to be a jump ring. So I'm hoping that by using jump rings, it can get the chain to like roughly resemble a tie. I also have some cording that I might do in the middle to resemble stripes, but I'm first going to work on the actual tie portion and then see about the cording. And I also haven't worked with cording before, so I got like the things to be able to connect them, but we're gonna have to see. So I'm gonna start working on this, and then if that works, I'll do the cording, and then everything will be done. Thanks for watching. I really hope you liked it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on my social medias. And if you made it this far, comment down below what your favorite Met Gala look is as they come in. I'm very excited to see how people dress for the red carpet, and I'm also excited to see how mine shapes up compared to the theme and compared to everyone else. And I do like how it turned out. I think the top and the pants both look good. I think they fit pretty well. I do wish I could have done slacks, but maybe next time. And I think the tie was a great touch. So I'm very proud of it. So yeah, until next time, bye guys.